If you've ever wondered what a running assessment involves and how we determine if you're ready to train, here's what it looks like.
But you're going to be on one leg. Hands on the hips, stand on your left leg, jump as high as possible for 10 seconds, minimizing time on the ground.
Okay. Not going to get an A on this one.
That's fine, right? All right, so you're going to get started in 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead. And stop. How did that feel?
I feel like my legs are not as strong as I think. Like my calves, it's like making me sore. Kind of.
Right.
Quickly.
And if it makes you feel better, single leg hopping is actually harder than like easier running. Yeah. Running comes in different levels. The faster you run, the more stress is that's imparted on the leg. It's hard right now, but the idea is you're not at 100% yet. We're going to do the right leg right now. So go ahead. And you can stop. Yeah, you could almost feel that difference. But again, just because it's hard on that left leg doesn't mean you're not going to run, but it just shows we're not at 100% yet with it. And what's nice about this is we could actually see those differences. Yeah, you could feel it. And for me personally, I like to attach metrics to it.
Right, like versus just eyeballing it.
So let's talk about what we're seeing because there's a lot of numbers. We could look at your vertical jump, which is basically, the excursion of that belt. We could see that if you jump a little higher on the right side versus the left side, 4.1 centimeters versus 2.4. So that's a 26% difference.
Wow.
Which is a pretty big difference. Yeah. However, we also need to anchor that to how much time you take on the ground to like wind up, because being able to jump this high with like a quick hop versus like doing this, you could get to the same height, but you have to load up.
Right.
So the first one would be harder. If you could jump the same height with less wind up, that's technically better. But we could see that. So on the right side, you jump higher on that right leg, but also you don't take as much time to get to that height compared to the left. We get something called a reactive strength index. So that will basically take the jump and the ground contact and give you a score off of it.
Okay.
And then you could see that it's a 0.22 on the left, and the right it's a 0.49. Again, let's just care more about the symmetry. So that's a 38% difference in terms of performance, which is huge. Yeah. It's feeling a lot better. Pain's going down, but just because the pain isn't there doesn't necessarily mean it's functioning at 100% yet.
Okay.
So you could put on your shoes. I'd say you could start with the Nova Blast. So I'm going to have you step onto the treadmill.
Okay.
And I'm just going to have you walking on it, getting used to it. Of note, have you ran on a treadmill before?
I have.
The reason I bring this up because this will be harder for you.
Okay.
This is in kilometers, not miles per hour. Well, traditionally, people will look at like one speed. It's not enough. I'm going to be looking at 3 different speeds because it's going to give me a good understanding of how you run. The first one is should be more of a jog and an easier effort. The second one will be roughly around your easy run pace.
Okay.
And then the next one after that will just be probably a little faster, probably closing in on tempo pace. It'll be the easy jog. I'm going to take you to around 11 to 12 minutes per mile. How's that feel?
Feels great.
I'm going to be measuring the data for at least a minute here. I'm going to take footage on my end. I'm going to give you a little bit of a walk break for a moment. All right, I'm going to take you up to 10 minutes per mile. How's the foot feeling, by the way?
Good.
Okay.
Totally fine.
All right, we're going to do one more speed. It's going to be a little quicker. I'll do it for 30 seconds this time.
Okay.
You ready?
You put me at like something that's going to blow me backwards?
No. Nice job.
Thank you.
So I took multiple scores.
Okay.
Walking initially, we're going to go right into running, right?
Okay.
So running initially, here's where we are. A+ means just putting in the work, right? Just following the plan. So you get an A+ in that department. But then I like to see how the body responds.
Okay.
I'm going to explain the number in this context. 47%, it means like this is across all runners. So being at 50% and above means that it's already above average.
Okay.
90 to 100% being like the signature of Olympic runners. The reason why I don't care as much about that, it's because, it's not about comparing you to other people. It's about what do we need to do for you. When we dive into these numbers, it's a culmination of 3 things. So dynamic stability, which is how your hips essentially wobble side to side. So if there's a lot of wobble happening, that means it's typically less efficient. When we look at impact loading, that's the other one. That refers to the ability to shock absorb through the leg. Higher level runners can really distribute those forces better than others, putting a little bit less loading on the leg. And then symmetry looks at the difference between the two. Let's dive into it. What we see here is there's a lot of numbers, but I'm only going to have you focus on just 2 things. What I was looking at was your ability to stabilize on one leg versus another. So we know that it's a little harder on the left, and we do see that here. That's something that I would want to work on, but we could also see there's like a lot of red, which is like the impact magnitude, a lot of like peak loading on that leg.
Okay.
And this kind of makes sense because I think as we work on the plantar fascia, that's something that we'll work on to get it to absorb forces better. You want these areas to absorb more force, but if they're a little irritable, they don't want to.
So the faster I get, the less efficient I'm becoming.
So if we look at the dynamic stability, right? 23.2 to 22.4.
Yeah.
And it's harder. You know, when you run faster, it's just harder on the legs and they have to stabilize more. You could see that it just gets harder and harder for your hips to stabilize. And that's a part of this that we need to work on. Because if it has a hard time, like, doing that, there's a lot more side-to-side movement that's happening in the leg, and that could probably be affecting the plantar fascia. The other thing that eventually we'll work on is going to be the ability to shock absorb better through those legs. That's not going to be our big focus yet. We're focused on calming this down and starting to introduce running in a manner that makes sense for your body at the moment.
Right.
What are we going to do with your running at the moment? So that's what we'll do next.
Okay.
Sometimes it's not about what happens now, it's how it feels like later.
Yeah.
And I'm very cognizant of that. Let's put this together. So now the goal is Napa Marathon March 1st. So in terms of this, you're definitely recovering, right? The pain's going down, so it's getting calmed down. However, you can see based off what we measured that there's still a very significant difference in performance on that right leg versus the left, especially when we did the single leg hopping. So the way that I want to approach this is going to be a little more finessed. What I would do is this. So this weekend, right, you're going to have a long run. You're going to do a 10-minute walk, because you'll probably notice that with that plantar fascia, it needs a little bit of a warm-up conversational pace with a 1-minute walk. It takes the pressure off of you. I'm going to take advantage of you being a good listener, because as you run, you kind of get like into the flow. You're not really thinking too much. The 1-minute walk is going to act as a reflecting point for you. But there should be an intuitive piece where it should not be aggravating. Pain should not get worse. I still want you on non-consecutive runs, space them out. I just want you to really listen to your body as you go through. And I want to make sure the cumulative loads are okay. Because the main thing about getting into this race, the thing that'll limit you is more the sharp pain. So if that's the biggest issue, I really want to respect where the body's at. I think from there, though, we'll get really good information on what's going on. How does this sound for you?
This looks great. There's always a concern or a scare going into like injury, or even talking to like a doctor or a physical therapist, whoever, that they're going to be like, oh yeah, you need to stay off of it. Or this is like, this goal is not possible.
Yeah.
And it feels so good that you guys are guiding me towards the direction of like, this is possible as long as we stay this course, and having a gauge of where the pain should be, because I don't know. So it helps to go like, okay, 4 out of 10, I know exactly what that feels like, or shouldn't be getting worse, or you should be able to recover within 24. Like all of that is really helpful. I just appreciate you like taking time out to like, you know, work this through with me.
This is a team approach. Yeah. Becky obviously has a really good lens on already where your foot's at.
Right.
So what I would ideally want to do, I do want to see you roughly like every 2 to 3 weeks to really to reconvene. And then on Becky's end, definitely continue to really build up the foot.
I agree. Let's do it.
This is what a data-driven running assessment looks like. Every runner is different, and understanding your body helps you train smarter and safer. If you want to see how we guide runners back from injury, subscribe for more tips or book your running assessment today.